Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. So welcome everyone to the 145th Jayanthi celebration of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. We are very fortunate that the president of the ashram, Dr. Anand Ramanan, is here with his family, his wife, Dr. Nitya, and his daughter, Akshara. So as you know, we normally observe Jayanti later in December or January, but we wanted to make sure we observed it while they were here. So they were just like us in the US, observing weekly satsangs and these functions, gone back to Tiruvannamalai for good. So all of us recognize how hard that is, the heat of Tiruvannamalai, all that comes with managing an ashram. And so we're deeply grateful to the family for all that you're doing, and very happy that you joined us this morning.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Very good morning to all our friends. Antaryasha Bahir Viduta Timiram Jyotirmayam Shasvatam Sthanam Prapya Virajate Vinamatam Agyana Unmulayan Pashyan Vishwamupidam Ullasati Yo Vishwashapare Paraha Tasmai Sri Ramanaya Loka Gurave Shokasya Hantre Ramana. Dear fellow Atmans on the glorious path to self-realization, it gives me great joy to be back with the Bay Area Satsang members to celebrate Bhagavan's 145th Jayanti. And as Sunita said a little early, having lived in the US for over 28 years, Satsangs in the US holds a special place in my heart. Nitya and I have benefited along with our family from such immensely intense group, spiritually mature meetings which we call as satsangs in the DC area, as we know. I have no doubt in my mind that such satsangs are powerful means to practice and to propagate Bhagavan's teachings worldwide. Satsangs offer each individual their own personal connection with Bhagavan, while their spiritual growth blossoms through an inner journey under his watchful guidance and, most importantly, his grace. Friends, in the era of loneliness and in the pandemic of the sense of being part of the unseen majority, Bhagavan's teachings, which delivers each individual a direct, personal and unique spiritual experience while kindling optimistic inner happiness, appear like the only hope for the humanity. These gatherings of spiritually mature sadhaks foster the sense of family, a sense of belonging, while each devotee as an individual pursues the highest spiritual goal in the reality of a fast changing external world by means of their own self-directed sadhana. To use a Bay Area term, satsangs are like hardware devices offering individual software to each individual sadhak. So we are a directed source, a concentrated source of transmission of knowledge and His grace. My fondest hope is to participate in many satsangs all over the world. And friends gladly report that there are over a satsang, hundreds such satsangs as of now all over the world, in every continent of the world. One of Ramanashram's founding principle, which was manifested by the Guru, is gratitude. Bhagavan's last word to his attendants was Santosham, while tears flowed down his cheek, the side of his cheeks. I want to express my gratitude to the Bay Area Satsang. I'm genuinely proud and thrilled to see this chapter flourishing, with weekly satsangs growing in strength and their commendable support for Ramanasramam and, more importantly, our non-profit registered in United States, Sri Ramana Maharshi Heritage, SRMH. Friends, Fremont is the home of SRMH. Your sincere group of devotees practicing Bhagavan's teachings serves as an inspiration for others to emulate. All of you are successful, busy professionals, yet for most of you, Bhagavan's teachings serves as a foundation on which you base your lives. I want to recognize many personal friends, and I leave out quite a few. Suman Bala, Devi Mayappan, Akila Karthik, Rajesh Bhatia, Radha Rajesh, Satya and Bharati, Sunita and Karthik. And of course, our DC transplant, Peter Birkin, who has dedicated himself initially by starting and running the Ramana Maharshi Center of Sonoma. Friends, it's a beautiful place. I urge every one of you to visit. While you enjoy the natural beauty, you'll also enjoy the spiritual atmosphere in that building. Peter, it's truly a labor of love. Hats off to you. I want to personally thank Sunita Parshuraman, the coordinator of the Bay Area Satsang, and more importantly, the president of SRMH, a personal friend with whom I've had the pleasure of working with many ashram projects since 2012. She has dedicated her life to serve Bhagavan and his ashram with increasing fervor over time. She serves on the editorial board of Mountain Path, the ashram publication committee, and single-handedly brings out the Nondi's Corner and Youth Corner in Mountain Path. Under her leadership, SRMH is growing in strength and spearheads the movement in North America to spread his teachings in the most authentic and practical way. The SRMH bookstore offers, with increasing capacity, currently 40 titles in English, Tamil, Telugu and Gujarati, the ashram calendars, and many high-resolution photos. The SRMH YouTube channel, and thanks to Karthik, and which is creating gradually a valuable video repository for devotees worldwide. It has started the annual North American Virtual Children's Camp, which started this summer and has been a great success. Annual retreats like the one we're going to see soon, I hope, will be soon a regular feature all over America, in many corners of America. Friends, I'd like to report this coming week, SRMH sponsored video series on Bhagavan in local television channel in Tamil Nadu and India, Shankara TV, produced by our Bombay Chanakya, and I believe the play was enacted here. It's a 26 episode series which will be translated into all world languages, and it's been proudly co-sponsored by SRMH. And finally, I can go on, but SRMH sponsored the building of a school building in Bhagavan's village in Tiruchuri, where 12 classrooms are going to be hosted. Sorry. I'm very glad to report that the ashram is moving like a fast moving EV car on all cylinders. How many cylinders I have, I don't know, but on many cylinders as possible. We are implementing practically new software upgrades in every program, and again using a local Zoho based software with their own AI. We moved the cloud to in India. We have been able to do the ESG upgrades, which would be so dear to Bhagavan. Okay, cannot be a greater example of a minimalist in this universe like our Bhagavan. So I'm glad to report that 60% of the ashram cooking is through naturally available biogas. We have also implemented a solar panel, and again around 50 to 60% of the ashram will work on the solar panels. It could easily be 100, 200%, but we are not a single branch of tree was cut. So it's grown around the vegetation. The additional guest rooms are being gently added while keeping up with the natural beauty. We are introducing balanced and healthy menus in the kitchen, including introducing some North Indian menus, more low carb menus for the Bay Area, advanced people. And we have brought rigor to the book sales and publications. Friends, our digital initiatives are advancing with live streams, both morning and evening of the puja and the parayanam. We are using and trying to bring out an AI app which the devotee can directly get authentic information using the ashram books, core books, for their individual questions of the sadhana and other questions that they have. I'm sure everybody is using the Parayana apps, and of course the social media outreach continues to expand. The SRMH publishes biannual reports summarizing our activities. I hope you'll all stay attuned to the work in India and continue to support it. I'd like to announce even yesterday on our official YouTube channel the live streaming of, first ever live streaming of Sri Chakra Puja was commenced. It will be streamed every first Friday and Friday evening of each month. And I'll just like to quote two examples to give the impact. The mountain path, as you know, used to get as a copy in your hands, and during the COVID, the subscription, the hard copies had reduced to 4,000 to 5,000, and through the Mountain Path digital app, each issue is downloaded 500,000 times. Where is 5,000? Where is 500,000? The next metric is YouTube ashram video has had over 10 million individual visitors. While all using AI, not the AI that you imagine, the Atmic intelligence is the one the ashram runs on. Friends, all these things don't matter unless we recognize the why of Ramanasramam, the why of Bhagavan's advent on this earth. So I like to focus my concluding part, the second half rather, of what is unique about Bhagavan and his teachings. Having come to Bhagavan, we sometimes lose sight of how privileged and how chosen we all are. For we can come to him only from a tapas of many lifetimes. With every passing day, I feel blessed to serve his ashram, and his vision and clarity makes my life harmonious, full of purpose, and my job a lot easier. Friends, it's the same for all of us. Following Bhagavan's teachings gives us immense clarity and gives us the highest, loftiest purpose for our earthly lives. However, it's very easy to take Bhagavan for just another guru. As we devotees know, he is the incarnation of Dakshinamurti and more recently Sri Adi Shankaracharya. And he says so himself in the invocation slokas of his Tamil translations of Atma Bodham and Dakshinamurti Stotram. So why did Shankara come to us as Sri Ramana Maharshi in the 20th century? I can think of a few reasons, 6 mostly. I'd like to lay them today. Number 1, his path is open to everyone, including householders like most of us. No other guru has said this with such clarity and with such conviction. He never asked devotees to renounce their lives as grihasthas. He was clear that this path is to strive to turn the mind inwards while discharging our duties at home and at work. He only asked us to do this without a sense of doership and without identifying ourselves with the roles of a parent, spouse, doctor, engineer, boss, or a subordinate. And Bhagavan explains this in talks. Devotees question, is it possible to enjoy samadhi while being busy with worldly work? Bhagavan, it is a feeling I work that is the hindrance. Ask yourself who works. Remember who you are. Then the work will not bind you. It will go on automatically. Make no effort either to work or to renounce. Your effort is the bondage. What is destined to happen will happen. If you are destined to work, you will not be able to avoid it. You will be forced to engage in it. So leave it to the higher power. It is really not your choice whether you renounce or retain. Bhagavan gives the example of women carrying jars of water on their heads while they stop to talk. They are very careful keeping their minds on the water jar. Similarly, Bhagavan says, when a sage engages in activity, his mind is always fixed on the self and his activity does not distract him. The second reason, Bhagavan's categorical declaration that the only purpose in life is to attain the self. Friends, other teachers can leave us a little confused on what our main focus can be. In Oyuvil Odakam, there is an example which says that the semi-gurus can become both the Brahma and the Yama by granting karma on the devotees and granting boons. For they make us have more and more births and as a result more deaths. So they become Brahmas and Yamas themselves. Not so for our Bhagavan. Bhagavan leaves us with no doubt. He has categorically said, quote, your own realization is the greatest service you can render to the world. Everything else is just an aid in the pursuit of this ultimate goal. By trusting Bhagavan, we can save ourselves from the dangers of getting too engrossed in social service or performing elaborate pujas. For as we know, they are only aid on the path to purify us for the final plunge, the forms of chitta shuddhi, but they can never give us salvation. Bhagavan's own words again. This is from Kunju Samigal's Reminiscences. Quote, when I was attending on Sri Bhagavan, he would frequently say, Kunju, it is no use saying that I am serving Sri Bhagavan and I am dusting his bed and have served him for so long, etc. Besides service, one should follow the path shown by the Guru. The greatest service to the Guru is to be engaged in self-inquiry and meditation in all sincerity. The third reason, Bhagavan's declaration that his is not a new spiritual path. He has said this categorically in Tamil. Periyorgal sollalena in the vaila varadu. In English, if the great seers had not uttered this truth, they would come out of this mouth. They wouldn't come out of this mouth. There is a reason why he translated the major works of Sri Adi Shankara into Tamil and other works like Devika Lotaram and so on. This is to show that self-inquiry is rooted in Advaita Vedanta. So what we practice is not a shortcut, is not a cult. Bhagavan just revived this ancient practice of self-inquiry based on Jnana Marga and made it suitable for the modern world. Arthur Osborne explains this very eloquently in his book Teachings of Sri Ramana Maharshi in his own words. Quote, it is not a new method. Indeed, being the most direct method of all, it must be the most ancient. However, in ancient times, it had become a path reserved for the heroic few, who could strive in solitude, withdrawn from the world in constant meditation. In recent times, as it may be expected, it had become increasingly rare. What Bhagavan did was to restore it in a new form combined with Karma Marga in such a way that it could be used in the conditions of the modern world. Since it requires no ritual or outer forms of worship, it is in fact the most ideal method for the needs of our times. And yet, it is not weakened nor diluted by being adapted to the modern conditions of life, but remains central and most direct. The fourth reason, Bhagavan's insistence that there are no shortcuts on this path. Bhagavan was a stickler for discipline and self-effort, even to the child widows who had surrendered to him. And again, friends, in the 1920s, where even regular women couldn't learn Vedanta, or in this country weren't allowed to vote, Bhagavan taught the highest spiritual teaching to child widows, who moved to the ashram and were able to live as individuals freely amidst men under Bhagavan's protection. So even to such child widows, to whom his most of his teachings were in the early morning in the kitchen, and that's why the ashram kitchen is such a profound place. It's because every morsel of food is a prasadam, because Bhagavan spent a lot of time and a lot of teachings came out in those buildings. He insisted that the teaching should be followed through their own effort, even though he also showered them with personal grace. This again is contrast where we are promised instant moksha at many places. Bhagavan's own words, in who am I to explain the response to the question. And Shiva Prakasham Pillai asks, is it not possible for God and the Guru to effect liberation of the soul? Bhagavan says, God and Guru will only show you the way to liberation. They will not by themselves take the soul to the state of liberation. In truth, God and Guru are not different. Just as the prey was fallen into the jaws of a tiger has no escape, so those who have come in within the ambit of the Guru's gracious look will be saved by the Guru and will not get lost. Yet, each one should by his own or her own effort pursue the path shown by God or Guru and gain liberation. And Bhagavan says, one can know oneself only with one's own eye of knowledge and not with somebody else's. Bhagavan says, does he who is Rama require the help of a mirror to know that he is Rama? The fifth reason, and perhaps the most important, Bhagavan's boiling the root problem for the lack of delusion in this world, Maya, to the I thought. He explains in numerous ways that problems arise when the I thought arises, and that the only freedom we have is to turn inward, to find the source of the I thought, and see that when we search for the phantom I, that it does not exist. It does not exist. There is nothing more liberating and empowering than this. In the verse 25 of Ulladu Narpadu, and I will use a transliteration here, Bhagavan says, holding a form it rises, holding a form it stays, holding and feeding on a form it thrives. Leaving one form, it takes hold of another. When sought, it takes to flight. Such is the ego ghost with no form of its own. Again, in Day by Day, he reiterates this to us. It does not really rest with a man whether he goes to this place or that, whether he is keeping up this duty or that. All that happens according to destiny. All the activities that the body must go through or determine when it first came into existence. It does not rest with you to accept or reject them. The only freedom you have is to turn inward and renounce activities there. This may seem abstract, but I'll just quote a personal example today. My son Advait was to join us today, but got pulled out to work being a junior lawyer. Now that happens to many junior lawyers, but him being my son, that caused me some little upset. But then looking back, it's because my connection or my false connection with him, that he's my son, I am Dr. Anand, I feel dejected that he couldn't be here. But I'm sure I wouldn't feel it if somebody else, some other lawyer didn't make it here, some junior lawyer or somebody else. So why is this? It's because of the false adjunct of me. I'm the central character in my story of my life, right? So that's a false pretense, and that's what fosters and creates this expectation, this false joy and disappointment. So Bhagavan asks us, even in a very worldly way, to strip this I of this father adjunct and pull it away from the grip of the I thought. So that way I can move on with no expectation anymore, with practice, of course. Such is the power of his teaching, even in a simple instance, worldly instance like this. Bhagavan, the sixth example is a most clear definition of happiness. No one has defined happiness like our Bhagavan. And again to quote from his sentinel work as a 21-year-old in Who Am I? He quotes, to quote him, happiness is the very nature of the self. Happiness and the self are not different. Happiness and the self are not different. There is no happiness in any object of this world. We imagine through ignorance that we derive happiness from worldly objects. When the mind goes out, it experiences misery. In truth, when its desires are fulfilled, it returns to its own natural place and enjoys the happiness that is the self. It enjoys the happiness of the self. Similarly, so in the states of sleep, samadhi, and fainting. And when the object that we desire is obtained, or the object disliked is removed, the mind then becomes inward, turned, and enjoys pure self-happiness. Thus, the mind moves without rest, alternatively going out of the self and returning to it. Under the tree, the shade is pleasant. Out in the sun, the heat is scorching. A person who has been going about in the sun feels cool when he reaches the shade. Someone who keeps going from the shade into the sun and back into the shade is a fool. A wise man stays permanently in the shade. Similarly, the mind of one who knows the truth does not leave the Brahman, the happiness of the Brahman. The mind of the ignorant, on the contrary, revolves in the world, feeling miserable, and for a little time returns to Brahman to experience transient happiness. In fact, what is called the world is only thought. It's only thought. When the world disappears, that is, when there is no thought, the mind experiences unalloyed happiness. And when the world appears, it goes through misery. Friends, if we put this in practice, that is, turn our minds repeatedly each time inwards, we will know that all joy comes from within and there is no lasting, unalloyed joy in the external world. We are sure to reach the source of the I thought and the resting place of the Atman, the Hridayam, the spiritual heart. This gives us all a sense of fullness and complete contentment. There is nothing more to seek. The journey is ended and we have come to our true home. The means then becomes the end. Friends, I hope that I've been able to share the greatness of our Guru with all of you. Bhagavan is the most aspirational Guru. He came to this earth to make us all Ramanas, 100% like him. No dilution of his personal experience was transmitted in the clearest, shortest, eloquent, direct way. No weight, no grades of realization. He looked at everybody as realized, just that they don't know it. And he came to remove the last shade that is covering us from experiencing the happiness of the Atman, and there we can be in the realized state. Bhagavan's presence and guidance are experienced all over the world, just as he was when he was physically present. I would in fact say several thousands more, times more, all over the world. On this Jayanti day, let us all turn to him with sincere aspiration and longing and try our best to follow his teachings. We are bound to feel his grace. In fact, we are all gathered here today only because of that grace. There is no doubt about this. Thank you for your attention, and Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.